Yeah, we're live. We got lots to talk about tonight. $100 off on spring. not on springs. $100 off on cam and spring. So we just now the low buck or the Truck Plus cam and springs. We have found another source for springs. The BTR stuff is fantastic. That dual spring that we've been using, that's great. You guys want to rev it out there and put more spring rate in it, that's all great. We found another spring option for the 585 Lift Truck Plus cam. And now we can make it the same price basically as the low buck truck camshafts because we found a camshaft that will work with that 585 lift. And so now we've brought the price down all the way. Now the 75 horsepower Truck Plus cam, same price as the 60 horsepower low buck truck camshaft, and then the Ripper obviously, and that is still on sale. And that's less than both of them. So there you go. That's a great deal. In fact, we're so excited about it. Jimmy right now is putting a Truck Plus cam and these springs in the Tahoe because we want to show that, hey, that's a good piece. It's going to make some serious power. And especially the guys from from Roadtrex want us to put that back on at a later date. We told them we're doing a bunch of testing right now with turbo stuff. So we want to do some turbo stuff. We want to put we have all the NA stuff, obviously. We want to put the Truck Plus camshaft in. We'll put one of our Trailblazer SS manifolds on it, and we'll run, we'll do a bunch of NA testing. Jimmy did some testing where he basically dropped the whole exhaust to see how much that was worth. And then we want to, after we do that and run it NA and get it all dialed in, which will be easy because it's, that's pretty simple. Then we'll start doing more turbo testing. So then it will get a turbo with the Truck Plus cam, all good stuff, and $100 off. So from the original price of the Truck Plus and the spring package, we've now come down, I think, more than $100. So for you guys, that's good. That's good news. Guys looking for big power. We were taking a look at the crossover stuff between the Truck Plus and the stock cam. The low buck truck cam is better down low. The Truck Plus is definitely better on top. But if you compare the Truck Plus cam to a stock cam, it's better through most of the curve. I always tell people, I was thinking about this today, that, we get a lot of guys that are interested. I want all the, want more torque or whatever at 2000 RPM. I'm like, you know what? The best cam is for 2000 RPM? A converter. That's the best cam that you could get. That's going to change the acceleration rate and the power and stuff at 2000 more than any camshaft I know. So that's going to be another shirt. The best 2000 RPM cam is a converter. So that's going to help out all the converter guys. So you're welcome. So I'm excited about that. $100 off a cam and spring. So that's a good deal. And then the other thing I want to ask, I need your guys' help. The Silverado is not working. I was driving my son and his teammate to practice, and it started making awful noises, and it started like darting to one side and the other. I'm like, something's going on here. And so we stopped and I looked at it. I thought, maybe it's kind of making rotor noise and stuff, or grinding noise. I'm like, I can't really tell what side it's coming from. So I had my son listen, I listened, and I was able to nurse it back at like 20 miles an hour, making terrible noises. And I thought, it's almost like a tire is loose, or like a caliper is loose and is dragging on the wheel or something like that. I'm like, what's going on here? So I just, when we got back, took it all apart, jacked up both sides, spun the wheel, everything's working good. Checked the brake. It's all bolted on right. Nothing's rubbing on there. The rotor's not hitting anything. There's not anything lodged in there. None of that is a problem. Went to the other side, went to the driver's side. That side won't spin. And I thought, oh, okay, well, then this side obviously has the brake locked up. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, it looks like there's like witness marks where it's rubbing. Something's going on here. Well, and then after I took the wheel off and I tried to spin the axle, because it's 4-wheel drive, tried to spin the brake rotor and the axle and stuff, it won't spin. I thought, oh, it's locked up then. So it's like I was thinking it's a rotor caliper kind of problem here. It's cattywampus. And so I took the brakes off. I'm like, no, those are like brand new. There's no witness marks on the rotor. All that looks like I just changed the brakes, which I did not too long ago. They look fantastic. but I tried to spin the axle and it won't spin. So I went to check and make sure, is it maybe like locked in gear or something? Is something going on with the 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive? Something did we push something intermittently, or did we cause a problem with that? And I checked that, and now all of those things shifts in and out of 2-wheel drive and high and low and stuff. All that seems to be working electronically. So what I'm thinking, and I need your guys' help, is the transfer case bad? Somebody brought up wheel bearing, and that's a really good idea. I need to check that. A wheel hub, I can look at all that stuff. I'm gonna, in fact, now it makes me want to go take it back apart and see, because one of the things I saw is there was a witness mark between the inside curved edge of the brake rotor and the inside of the wheel, which means the wheel is somehow getting closer to the brake, which wheel bearings could do that. So makes me want to check that. So that's good. See, that's why I come here. New hub time. If you replace every part, then you replace the broken part in the process. What I don't want it to be is the transfer case locked up. The other side's spinning, so I don't think it's that. But it could be this hub side and stuff. It could be that. I didn't even think about that. That's good. I immediately thought, oh, it's not spinning, so it's got to be this shaft is connected to that, and that's not allowing it to spin. So that's obviously not it. Now let's see if I take. Is that hub a sealed bearing? Are those bearings removable? Pull the CV out of the hub and everything else should spin. Yeah, I would. Yeah, if I jacked it up and took the hub off, I could do that. I've had several go bad. I'll go bad between 200 and 250. Yeah, this got 350. I don't know if it's been changed before that. Just hook and drive shaft, you'll know. Just unhook the drive shaft. Oh, yeah. Can you just unbolt the shaft from the transfer case? I mean, I know it has a bunch of bolts on it, but is there an inner hub for that and then an outer hub for that, and they're bolted together? So if I take that off, like fluid's not going to leak out or anything. I've not taken one of those apart before. Kept wearing brakes on the rear wheel after replacing the entire brake assembly. I found the axle slightly bent. Yeah. Hub bearings are not serviceable. Okay. Yeah, so I'll have to check. And just see if the transaxle spins, the transfer case, and if it does, then we'll look at a hub. You pull the hub from the yoke. $100 a side. Excuse me, I gotta go check out the website. $30 off. Wasn't bad. $100 off for the Cam Springs. I gotta know how many dollars that ends up being in Canadian. Yeah. Oh, see, that's why I come here. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about bearings or hubs. Yeah, it could be the outer part of that not wanting to spin, and that would if there's some wobble in there, if they've worn out, that could allow the wheel to shift over on the caliper, right? Yeah, that could do that. The CV looks good. Both the boots are good. It's not that, or I don't think it's that. I mean, the CV could be locked up too, but we would find that out if I took it out. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. And naturally, this happened as we were on the freeway, and probably was happening before that. If it is a hub of bearings, I have to leave early tomorrow morning to go to Dulcige's because he's doing the airflow research stock 360 head test on the Mopar. So I'm excited about go down and see him. So I might have to borrow my son's Camaro. That'd be cool though. Blew a TR 3550 trans to smithereens. Uh-oh. Did you what did you do? Were you Did you backhole it, or were you like doing clutch dumps on it? What were you doing? Jimmy's having way too much swapping parts. Yeah, he's doing a lot of that. And we want to take his whole engine out, but we're just going to get the camshaft in first and the springs, and then do some testing with that. And then we want to, I said, look, if we're going to take if we're going to take the engine out to do the razor blade rebuild on it, put head studs on it, and put rain gap in it and do all that, let's do that when the 4L80 would be ready to put in there. Let's do all that at once, so that the 4L80 can go in, and then we'll have a motor that we can boost up if we want to. We'll have a drive shaft that will cooperate if we're making big power or whatever. Good evening from Modesto. I'm going to be down by you, right? I did not. No, I was out working on the truck. Getting my Trailblazer SS on Friday. Terrifying. $4,000 to fourth gear with 331s, and we were moving. Did the transmission just let go while it was in gear and everything? Which cam is more chop, the low buck truck or the truck plus? I don't know. I've been told that the low buck truck does. I haven't seen idle or haven't tested idle stuff on both of them. Truck plus is a great no goals cam. Maybe I go boost, maybe I go NA. About as big as I go. The stock converter, rowdy but not crazy. Idle's good. It's a great cam. It's a great deal. It is. That is a good cam. And on a 6-liter, definitely the way to go. So anyone ever put an extra alternator on a Ford smog pump bracket? Do you need more voltage? Doing a 6G upgrade on my main alternator, but I'd like to put a second one on there because you got them subs. You're all about that bass. You'd like the cars that go boom. Wish I needed a truck plus. Minnesota checking in. There's no such thing as compression being too high for a cam, right? Within the realm of pump gas. Yeah, you could have a really, really mild cam and really, really high static compression, and you could get into the detonation like that on pump gas. You're going to be able to come cruising to the coast in October? Probably not. Time to rebuild the whole truck into a drag car. Wheel hub assembly, wheel bearing, notoriously bad on the GMT 800s. I need to do the GMT 900 front brakes on this thing, right? Is that what I need to do? I was about to order the best cam. Yep. New hubs. And should I do both the hubs in? Should I just put both front hubs in it? Pull the CV out of the hub and everything should spin. I've had several be bad on mine. I do have a spare O2 Auto 4x4 transfer case. Hubs are sealed. Hub is in assembly. I keep wearing brakes. Yep. Just hook the drive shaft. You'll know. These are not rear. This is the front. Yeah, you're done. Cheap and easy fix. Moog hub assemblies. Put a jack stand under the lower control arm. If it's bad enough, you should be able to push, pull. Yeah, I did the wiggle on it, and it didn't seem to be terrible. I'm going to give that another shot. Rock Auto, unless you can get them cheaper. Axle can stay. Pop the axle nut off. Remove the brake caliper assembly. 4 bolts hold the hub. Big hammer should remove it. Okay. Got to name my first course. Nice. Too much power. Was making 700 when it went. I don't know how the power alone does that. Unbolt front drive shaft. No oil leaks and can test if the issues in the front versus the transfer case. Likely wheel hub bearing. Yeah, I'm leaning more toward that. Working on getting an A in my electrical fundamentals. I'm ready to do 480 swaps. There you go, man. Yeah, Dulcich is cool people. Which is better, a low buck truck or a BTR truck Norris NSR on an 03 6-liter? The low buck truck will make a little bit more power than that. The NSR cam really is for if you don't want to change springs. Fix Katinka, her battery junction box melted. Uh-oh. Easy and cheap. 6-liter back up and running. Nice. Should I get a Vortec on my Mustang, or should I stay the course for twin GT45? Well, if the 35s would definitely make more power. Forgot to mention the 6-liter is going to have 706 heads. Okay. Sweet. The camel's looking at gets a price cut. That's what we like to hear. You need to go get it. Go get it for supply while supplies last. Ever consider a low buck torque converter? Yeah, my knowledge on torque converters is fairly limited. So I would have to work with somebody that's really good at that. I think that the low buck torque converter is the 6-cylinder from the Atlas motor. Cruising the coast would be your kind of party. 20+ Silverado brakes. I just thought any of the GMT 900s were the front brakes on them. Do the 2019 4-piston Silverados. I think I have 17-inch wheels on there now, as long as they fit. I want them to fit with stock wheels. Do both front hubs. Want to do the PPV 2021 Tahoe front brakes on my Tahoe. Need 20-inch wheels for that. Yeah, that's a problem. I don't want to do that. I don't want 20-inch wheels. Waffling over my power adder. We took the C6 to another dyno. 5.3 sleeved block. 430 CNC Texas speed. Atomic intake. Manual 605 horsepower. 7,800. That's up there for a 430-inch motor. Do both hubs with that kind of mileage. Won't push any of them to their limit. For sure, it's a stock bottom end 300. I just want to be able to get 75 plus with a loaded trailer. It's a stock bottom end 300 inline 6-cylinder, and then you don't need two GT35s or whatever. The FIC injectors are popping up a bunch on different websites. They all promote universal data. Had a buddy in high school, had super wide wheels on his GMC, had to do wheel hubs about once a year. Yeah, I would imagine. Does the newer L87 have knock sensors on still? Yeah, I'm sure it does. I got some bad gas towing. It seemed like it would ping anytime around the torque peak and nothing changed until I sourced better fuel. I'm sure that new ones have to have knock sensors on them. I've heard the chains make a lot of noise. Yeah, mine has always made noise. I just thought that was normal. What are fast burn heads? That usually refers to the GM stuff. They have a specific head profile that they call fast burn heads, and it's a chamber shape. Might do an M122. Got my engine in, but I'm not happy with how far forward it sits. Yeah, you want to push that thing back, right? Ordered a turbo fuel pump and injectors. Nice, thank you. We upgrade the brakes to 2009 4-piston. You'll need at least 17-inch wheels because they have 2 pistons on each side. The caliper is wide. Yeah, I know. I don't think that those will fit on the 19 plus stuff. I don't think that those will fit on 17-inch wheels. I think you need bigger wheels than that. Or maybe 17s with a specific backspacing or offset will work. He's a market witness to the previous hub's crime. So going to school, I have the confidence now to do Gen 5 LT motor, direct port injection. There you go. I was just talking to Brian today, and they're doing a bunch of blower testing. So he was showing me some of the data from some of the ported blower stuff. It's pretty cool. GMT 900s will fit 17s. Yeah, that's what I read, but I didn't think that the those are not 2019 plus though, right? Those are just later than mine. Just check 4 pistons fit 17s. Do Willwoods? No. that's a hard pass. Ryan Jans of Florida torque converter, low buck, sloppy endorsed, I believe. Okay. Get a LML year equipped trucks hydro booster. Quad pots, Willwoods will stop anything. Nep. Willwoods is not where I would go for performance brakes. 17s can work with spacers or 17 stocks from 4. Boosting 2 different vehicles, an F-150 and a 96 Mustang. Okay. I'm debating trying to keep my 07 Denali stock, but having issues with VVT. Might want to swap a non-VVT cam. Can't decide which way to go. Which cam will go. You can do a stock. You could put another stock cam in there if you want to do that. That's a non-VVT and a non-DOD cam. Some people have done that. I didn't. I remember Brian telling me about that. He goes, "Yeah, we have a stock cam that replaces this. It's the same profile. It's just a non-DOD because the DOD lobes are different than the non-DOD lobes." And so I said, "People really want that?" He goes, "Yeah, they do." So okay. Surprised me. I thought if somebody's going to change a cam, that they're going to change the cam at least to something a little bit better. GF7, GF3 on 2006, 2007. GMT 800s are large 2-piston calipers. They're used on 14 Suburbans. Mine's a 2002. So how do I buy that cam for $100? Nobody said that you can buy a cam for $100. It says you could buy it for it. The prices, it's been lowered $100. If you're doing a GMT 800, do the LML Hydro Boost. I'm not putting a Hydro Boost on it. I'm definitely not doing that. Have you run Texas speed cams? I have tested Texas speed cams. My brother's running 10.5 to 1. Is planning on dropping to 9.5 because the cam doesn't like compression. Andrew's N4 on a sporty. Can look up specs if interested. He's making a mistake. I mean, I need to. Is it Anderson Motorsports or Andrews? I've never heard of Andrews N4 cam. I don't know what that is. So if you tell me what the specs are, I don't know. It must be fairly mild if he's thinking about losing compression. He's going to lose power if he does that. GMT 900 is 7.5 to 13. Okay. 13-year-old son's building his first 97 S10 with 5.3 liter. Low book truck cam down the road. They'll get a turbo. That's all perfect, man. Your website still says 206. I want to buy this or a sloppy stage 2, bought a sloppy stage 2, but wouldn't mind having this cam for $100 just in case. They're not on sale for $100. They're $100 off from what they used to be, and it's a cam and springs. So now the low buck truck camshaft and the truck plus camshaft are the same price. The truck plus cam and springs used to be $100 more than that, and now it's not. What's the issue with Willwood, and where would you rather go? If I was putting brakes on like a race car or something, I would put Brembo or Alcon, something like that. If I was doing a truck like this, I would put factory stuff on it, some sort of factory upgrade. We had, and that's probably not fair to Willwood. They probably have lots of good stuff, but we had Willwoods on our World Challenge car, and they kept seizing. They kept locking in place. and so we'd go to push the car and we couldn't push the car. And so after that, and this was a long time ago, this was back in the 90s. I'm like, yeah, I'm never putting wheel woods on anything again. And that's probably extreme because I've seen lots of people that have done good stuff with them, and obviously they're a big company and stuff. But it's like you have a bad experience with tequila, and then that's it. I've sworn off tequila. Brandt, Craig, Crillo, bullet rods, diamond pistons, SCCA, cam, motocross car, super competitive in its region. There are cars with turbos making more. 605 is about what we can hook up on slicks. Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter if you have 200 more if you can never add the other 200 and put it down. Would you recommend getting 113 cast aluminum heads for my tune port? Not trying to do anything crazy at the moment. All seem to be moving to 108. Well, wait, where? I've lost myself again. Because my 193 cast factory heads have bad valve stem guides and I can't spend money on AFRs. Are those just two factory cast heads? I'm not familiar with tune port casting numbers. 2021 PPV Tahoe brakes are the same as Brembo GM Performance 6 piston for something like 1200 all said and done. Do you have bad experience with Wheelwood? Yeah. Hydro Boost is weird. I see the guy's listing says new RHP springs. Are they not BTR anymore? You can tell us the manufacturer. I can't. You can get BTR springs still if you want to pay the higher price. It's a non-DOD cam already, 1 year only. Okay. It's weird. My Z71 came stock with it. Those are good brakes. I'm not interested in having brakes that are like racing brakes. This truck is just driven around. I wouldn't mind having better brakes than I have because I just have AutoZone brakes on right now. Whatever. I'm sure that the pads are not even good. Why did everyone run 113 and 115 LSA cams and now they all seem to be moving to tighter and they seem to work better, but it took 20 years to figure it out? I don't agree with any of that. I don't agree that LS guys just learned that because the guys that are making cams knew about LSA, decades ago. I also don't agree with 108 to 111 working better. The choosing the LSA is like choosing the camshaft. You have to choose it for the thing that you're trying to achieve. And a lot of guys with fuel injection for years and years and years, long before LS stuff came along, they went with wider LSAs on the fuel injected motors because they thought it was easier to tune, which was certainly the case for a lot of the early fuel injection because they weren't as sophisticated. Some of them had trouble and struggled with cam stuff. Speed density stuff is a good example. Certainly the 5-liter Mustang speed density stuff didn't like big cams. Mass air stuff was a lot more forgiving. Tune port stuff, you had to get in and actually tune it. And so if you could make that idle quality and stuff a little bit better with that and that achieve that would be okay. But I think since the advent of cams, people have known what lobe separation angle does and all of that. If I swap cams now, which would you think, Lobuk truck or are you trying to, if this is a daily driver and you're wanting daily driver like idle and stuff, I would get the Ripper cam. Just found out a Bear T56 so I can see if I can put the V8 in the Bear gearbox main surface position. It's about 3 to 5 inches. Oh, so they are different. Is the bell housing different on those? Scrolling. Will you do a 2-piston caliper rear calipers? They're from the GMT 800 Suburban, same as your 25. Mine's not a 2500. Mine's a 1500. And unless you're meaning that the Suburban is a 2500, I'm not going to do. Mine has rear disc brakes on it already, but I'm not going to upgrade the rears. I'm just going to upgrade the fronts. 3D Crete, what is that? Richard, the way the budget Bank account is set up. If you keep doing these sales, it needs to start accepting Afterpay as a form of payment. There's a good and bad tequila like there is for Scotch. I don't agree with that. And again, that's wholly subjective. Some people like tequila. I don't. I have tasted endless kinds of tequila, and that's the I get the same comment, in fact, from a really good friend of mine, Gary Sheehan, the racer. He said, that you'll like this beer. He said, this beer, it tastes sweet, or it tastes like grape juice, or it tastes like whatever thing he's trying to convince me. This beer is really good. You'll like this. I'm like, no, it's awful. It tastes like beer. All of them taste like beer, and all tequilas taste like tequila. And so it's just not for me. It's for a lot of people, and they like that, and they like slight variations of that. Dude, I'm great with that. Just you should run with that. But that's not it. The big issue with my hydrogen boost is always feels soft. What do you recommend for an AFR? For what kind of application, Carl? Is it NA? Is it boosted? What is it? If it's NA in the mid 12s, if it's boosted in the low to mid 11s. So what cam, I'm sure, would you run if going non-DOD on 6.2 that's only towing? I assume getting rid of the DOD is preferable for longevity of the unit. Would you swap cam ASAP or 50,000 down the road? If the DOD is working, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't know how many miles that thing has on it. If I was wanting the mildest cam that we have is, or the one that has the best idle quality, let's say, which would be more kind of stockish, is the Ripper cam, because it has a wide LSA and it's smaller than the other two cams. On a 6.2, you could get away with the biggest cam. You get away with all of these cams probably with a stock converter on a 6.2 because it's a bigger motor. But the perception of drivability and what's acceptable for chop and other things it's wholly subjective. So it doesn't matter if I tell you, look, I like this, like with tequila. I don't like tequila. Other guys like tequila. If the guy tells you he likes tequila's great for him. It's fantastic. The same thing with these cams. I might pick one. Lots of other people pick other things, and it's right for all of them. Should get that together. Denali is 1 year only, non-DOD VVT. Okay. Swapping out the cam if I can solve the VVT issue, which would be closest to stock. The Ripper cam. Does the new Truck Plus combo work with stock retainers and seals? Yes. Do you recommend a BTR Truck Norris NSR cam on a Gen 353 for a daily without swapping the torque converter? Yes, you can run a Truck Norris with a stock converter on a 5.3. The NSR version does nothing for you other than take away lift. If you're going to put springs in it anyway, just get the regular Truck Norris. Or if you want a cam that's half that price, get a low buck truck camshaft. You can get a Chupacabra, which is about the same price as a BTR cam. They're excellent cams. You can just get stuff like that for cheaper. Of Innovate AFR gauges, shall I get AEM? No, you should use the ones that you have. If they give you a reading, the Innovate stuff, we set our Bonneville land speed records with Innovate stuff, so it worked fine. Is it recommended to replace valve seals on a cam swap? I picked up a set of BTR seals for my low buck truck install on my 125 mile L33. I wouldn't have done that. We would have just put the springs in and put the cam in and been done with it. But you can change the seals if you want. But did you get factory replacement seals? Because there's two kinds of seals that you could put on there. Rolling. Okay. We've been something nonstop issues having with Bear brakes lately. We're trying them for a few customers that wanted them, but we're back to Willwoods from now on. I've never had an issue with Bear brakes. I've done stuff with them since the 90s, since we were racing. We raced with their PBR calipers, which are Corvette ones. And then I don't know that I put some of their later stuff on though. Ever heard of a carb cheater? I don't think I have. What is it? That's it. Braid you can do as far as brakes will be the power stop pads and slotted rotors. Just did all 4 on my Yukon. I really need to look into pads because I think that the pads that I got were just cheap pads from AutoZone. 113 heads or the L98 Corvette heads are factory aluminum casts that flow decently. Found a new pair for 1,300. They flow 165 CFM. But for I would think that you'd Big Shark. I would think you'd be able to find aftermarket heads for $1,300. Did you look at Summit stuff or Skip White? Just ordered mine for my wife's 6-liter build. Swaps, happy to help. I know they're better heads for a little more money, but it needs to swap intake possibly to a Vortex style, which I try to keep factory TPI mounting and use a mini RAM or super RAM. Isn't the tune port a standard Chevy pattern? I know that there are some different ones. A friend of mine, 525 pumps installed on his daily Silverado. What are the pros and cons of using double fuel pumps versus a single? Does he need that much fuel? If he doesn't need that much fuel, there's no reason to do it because then you're kind of be unless they're pulse width modulated, controlled. It's hard to control that much pump with a regulator. But if you need that much fuel, they're good if you have a turbo motor or something. What would a wider LSA do for piston to valve clearance on a 237, 248 cam on an LS3? And what would it do for drivability and power? I don't know what you have now and what you're going to. But a wider LSA should help piston to valve clearance. It should push power higher up in the RPM range. Although you already have an 11-degree split, it's probably not going to be lacking that anyways. When I got the BTR Stage 3, it was 113, and they didn't have a tighter LSA in that cam size until the Truck Norris. It burns a bit of oil, and occasionally when it's cold, it'll get some smoke. You can do the 2019 Silverado 4-pot caliper conversion if you don't want 6-pot Brembos. I also don't want to put brakes on where the pads are going to be a lot more expensive to change when I have to change them, when I have to service them. No real cons to dual pumps. I wouldn't use a 525 as your primary pump on a daily. They run too hot. They run too hot even submerged? Getaway, what's going on? 100% agave. Yep, all of that's fantastic. I didn't catch exactly what happened on your truck. Is it possible the brake hose was swollen shut? To test, I opened the bleeder. No, the brake's working fine. The wheel won't spin. So it's either the transfer case or transaxle, or consensus is that it's a bearing or a hub now. Big Wave Hawaiian beer is good. I like Don the Beachcomber's, or we used to call it Beachcomber Bob, Blue Hawaiian mix. I like that. Is BTR LS3 Stage 4 good for a street strip truck? If it's more strip oriented or if it's a manual trans, that's a big cam. So be prepared to be driving around with big cam idle and big cam drivability. Bear is different than the modular. Okay. For now, NA deboosted. Okay. Updated the driver side valve cover on a 2011 due to PCV for oil consumption. A video idea. Can you do a video on milled and ported LS3 heads for higher compression on a stock bottom end block 6-liter? I think it'd be good for those seeking all out NA power on a 6-liter. The question would be porting, though. Like, you have to go to someone like Total Engine Airflow or Texas Speed or somebody who has or KTEC or whoever, who has a procedure where they produce the same thing over and over and over again. So if we did that test, that other people could also get that. You wouldn't want to mill those more than about 30. And it's pretty easy to calculate compression changes. It's 3 to 4% per one full point of compression. And honestly, on most 6 liters, ported LS3 heads are not going to do that much, because most 6 liters don't have the ability to make what a stock set of LS3 heads will support, the flow that they'll support. I mean, that's 300 to 315 CFM. That's enough to go way over 600 horsepower. Most 6 liters are not in that range. A power stop set of rotors and pads will do better than most people think. I personally like Brembo and AP. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I don't even know if Alcon is in business anymore. That's just what we had back then. Why are you against the Hydro Boost? I just am not going to install it on mine. I'm not against having it from the factory. My old manifold was dripping oil for my L59 swap. Truck Plus and spring package work on a 6-liter LQ4 with a 706 heads, or is it the low buck the better option? No, it will definitely work. I mean, any cam will work. Does Ripper cam still need tune? Yes. Any kind of cam that's going to add 50 horsepower is going to change the tune, and that's what you're going to get with that Ripper cam. I'm hoping the Barry input shaft is the same length as the V8 one. Isn't that information out there on? I would think that would be on Australia.com or whatever. That those guys would have talked about all that. Brothers AC Sports. There's an air-cooled 883 1200. Longer runners, currently 10.5 to 1. Andrews and so this is a motorcycle application. 256 at 53, 490 lift. Yeah, I wouldn't lower the compression for a 256 cam. Rebuilding my own 266,000 motor out of an O2 Avalanche. Converted LT1 T56 and installing it into an 85 Camaro. Just bought my 17-year-old son a clean 92 RS. Nice. Got your low buck truck cam, my 5.3. I'm either milling and porting a set of 862s, adding 202 valves, porting and milling 30 off a spare set of 243s. All good choices. Carb heater some guys came out with puts an O2 sensor in the exhaust and basically provides a controlled vacuum leak to control air fuel. They claim benefits of EFI with simplicity of a carb. Well, at the very best that it could do, it would have idle and part throttle closed loop like a throttle body injection, but not like port injection. It can't do individual cylinders. But feedback carburetors have been a thing for decades. So factory had feedback carburetors that did exactly what you're talking about for a really, really long time. Factory feedback quadrajets do that. I've looked around just trying to stay under 1500 for a pair of aluminum heads. Still use a factory tune port for now. You could also get some of those heads from a wrecking yard and just port them. Today I picked up a Truck Norris package for a 5.3 TTX 3584 VS Racing Trick T4 power log, injectors, fuel pump, 3000 stall, leveling up the Avalanche. Okay. Great. Is it a GTX 3584? Next up, you need to start transmission dynos. Would love to see different budget-minded combos of parts that can be had for the low. There's no way to dyno a transmission, not in terms of power or anything. All you could do is make sure that it's shifting, basically. FIS recommended a ball bearing 8596 115 T6 for my 6-liter build. Goal is 1,000 horsepower to kill 600-ish daily driving. BTR stage 2 V2 turbo cam, 200 single cab Silverado. What's your thoughts? No, the turbo's way too big for what you need to do, and I would never put a T6 on. You should, and even if it's not from us, you should get a T4 turbo for 1,000 horsepower. If you're going to be driving around at 600, the T4 is going to be a lot more responsive where you're doing most of your driving around. You should get something like our G42 or a 78, 75 or something like that. And you should get it in a T4. Ours is in a V band, which is, I think, even better. But and I don't think you need that much cam either. I don't think you need that much turbo cam. If you want to get a BTR cam, which I love the guys at BTR, you know, shout out to those guys. They help out with the live feed and stuff. But I would get a Truck Norris cam because you don't need a stage 2 turbo cam for that. 1,000 horsepower, you could make that with our low buck truck camshaft, with our even smaller Ripper camshaft. And with our 82 or our G42 turbo, you can make 1,200 with that. And we've been driving it around on Jimmy's Tahoe with a stock 5.3, and it's a blast. I wouldn't pick that size turbo, certainly not in a T6. It's funny, I got another we got another message with Jimmy and I and a customer, and somebody, and it really surprised me, somebody had recommended a T6 turbo for their 5.3. And I'm like, that's a horrible idea. That shouldn't be on a 5.3 unless it's a no prep 5.3 or something like that. But you don't need a T6 for anything realistic. And in fact, for what this guy was doing, he needed a much smaller cam than they were recommending. Reason for cheap cam and springs for him and LS swap is in his future. Been watching you for a long time. Keep it up. You guys on the West Coast don't have good beer. Yungling or nothing. I don't think that, again, that's not accurate. A coastal thing is not an accurate statement. There's lots of people here that drink, and there's lots of people that do microbreweries and all of that stuff is a real thing. I just don't like beer. That's me personally. Trying to make 600 wheel horsepower on a 5.3 NA. What do you recommend? You're not going to do that. You're not even going to make 500 wheel horsepower on a 5.3. In fact, it's a lot of work to make 500 flywheel horsepower with a 5.3. The way that you would do that is so 600 horsepower, 600 wheel horsepower on a 5.3 would be like 700 flywheel horsepower. So if you're trying to make 700 horsepower from a 325-inch motor, that's going to be more than 2 horsepower per cubic inch. That's going to be a $50,000 or $100,000 motor that is a ultra high compression. It's going to be like a cup motor, basically a cup version of a NASCAR motor, or more aptly, a drag race version of that. So it can be done, but not for what you're thinking. But it's easy with boost, though. $600 is pretty much the list I just posted. Not 600 wheel on an NA 5.3. Nobody has a list that does that. Does anybody know a good place to source good TTB cores? Throttle body? Is that what you're asking? So if I put the normal BTR Truck Norris, what do you think is necessary to change? Just springs? Normally not push rods. But you'll have to put injectors in it with any camshaft. Unless you're puffing blue smoke, valve seals aren't necessary. Buying a short block for my truck on Friday, building it for power, LM7 iron block. Any chance you can recommend best cam and heads to go with it? I was thinking Texas Speed. Deacon, you got to tell me, or Deacon, if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, you have to tell me, first of all, how much power you want to make. And we'll start with that, and then I can tell you how to get to that. What are your thoughts on cams that have an LSA number with a plus on them? That just means the intake center line has changed. the lobe separation angle is one lobe to another lobe. The +4 is that they've plus or -4 is that they've done this with both of them. It's relative to piston position. I guess my issue is I was going to save for a set of heads and intake, but my current head's wiping out the valve seal, so I need something decent. Big Shark, if you're doing that, if you're doing a temporary thing, I would 100% go to a wrecking yard. And I see those tune part motors in wrecking yards. I just 100% go to a wrecking yard, grab the head, maybe do a razor blade rebuild on it, on 2 of them if you're going to put 2 of them in there, and just put it back together and run it, and then save up for good stuff. The info is probably buried somewhere, but I'm definitely the first person to bother trying to use the buried gearbox on the V8. Okay. You're going to be building a 4.8 with 706 heads. What can I do to get around 500 horsepower with it? You have to, those heads would have to be fully ported to, because that's what that motor comes with, those heads anyways. It comes with a 706 or an 862, or a Gen 4 version would come with a 799 head normally, or a 243 head. But to make 500 horsepower with a 4.8, it's even harder than doing it with a 5.3. But you'd need a really, really big cam, a really, really good set of ported heads, and a really expensive intake manifold to get you there. I think it's possible to make 400 wheel horsepower out of a stage 2 low lift cam, 6.2 intake manifold, and throttle body with LT4 high pressure fuel pump and injectors. Are you talking about a an L83? Yeah, I would think so. I need to look and see what Brian has done with some of their cams. The fuel pump and injectors isn't going to add any power. It's just going to supply what's there. I don't know that you need that stuff with just it sounds like just a cam and intake upgrade you're doing on the L83. Most likely I flipped the numbers on that turbo. It's the one that you carry. Do you think 600 horsepower is possible with ported LS3 heads, 11.5 to 1 compression, and a big cam on a stock bottom end Gen 4 6 liter? We have done 600 with a 6 liter, and it takes all of that. It takes a really big cam, it takes very, very good heads, and a really good intake manifold. But you can get there. We did it with, I'm thinking it was a flat top piston with valve reliefs, because we had to put a pretty good sized camshaft in it. What would be the best size turbo for a daily driver 383 LS that has your truck plus cam? What would have the best response? Looking for 600 to 650 wheel. The best response would be the GTX 3584 RS. I don't think that I would put that one in there if you're trying to get 650 wheel, because everybody that says that is always going to go up from there. I think on a 383, I would get a G42. If you want to split the difference, you can go with a G35 that we have. But a 383 with a G, given how well it's worked on this stock like 5.3, a G42 on that 383 would be awesome. Can't stand beer taste, the grain in it. Can I see if I can figure out why he thinks that way? He actually, somebody put that in his head. By that point on a 5.3, you might as well board the 5.7. Could I do it with a 6 liter, 600 wheel horsepower NA? Again, 600 wheel horsepower is 700 flywheel horsepower. So even on a 6 liter, you're talking about having it be a very, very expensive heads, cam, intake. You know, it's going to take a lot. You could do it with a stroker version of a 6 liter, like a 416 or a 408. Could get you closer to 600 wheel horsepower. But again, even with that, it's gonna take a lot. What TPI heads would you recommend getting and porting? Just go to the wrecking yard and get factory tune port heads. For this temporary thing, it doesn't matter what you're getting. Just go get a set, whatever they are. Hoping for 400 flywheel NA and then put boost on it later. Hoping for 800 flywheel on maybe a 68 or 72 millimeter T4. Yeah, if you have 400 flywheel horsepower, that's like a cammed 5.3, and you put a G42 on it, 800 flywheel is really, really easy. Can you building 408 with 706 heads? Yeah, we answered that already. What injector do you recommend for a sloppy stage 253 boost maybe next year? Buy our 1000s. Put a big enough injector in there. You're going to have to tune it anyways. So put a big enough injector in there that later on, when you add boost to it, you have enough injector. Would you ever expand to quad cam engines for cam and spring kits? For like what kind of quad cam engine? Probably not. No, almost nobody buys Coyote ones, and that would be probably the biggest market. 92 millimeter throttle body on 102 high ram turbo motor. Will throttle body hold me back? Is it worth spending the money on a 102? Not for a turbo. No. If you're blowing through it, don't worry about it. You gap the rings and junkyard LS for turbo build. What foot pounds do you torque the stock rod bolts to? I just refollow the factory torque sequence. It's 15 foot pounds and then an angle torque, and the different generation ones have different angles. What turbo would you recommend for a daily driven 416 stroker? The daily driven thing means nothing. The first consideration for any turbo question on any motor is how much power do you want to make. So you got to tell me that first, and then we can work on getting you the combination of power and response rate that you want. That was just replying to what cam heads I should get. Happy to help. You did a Kenny Bell on a Fox Body 2 years ago. What would you say the Kenny Bell is worth? The 4600. For people that like that particular blower, the thing that I don't like about the Kenny Bell, and I love those guys over there. I love Mark and love John and love Jim at Kenny Bell. Loved all those guys. And their kits for the modular stuff where they had intercoolers incorporated, I thought were fantastic. That's my problem with the Kenny Bell on a 5 liter is it has the right look and stuff for guys that now it's a retro look. I forget how old the 5 liter Mustang is. But it doesn't have an intercooler, which is the one thing that turns me off about it. Upgrading to Vortec heads on TBI 350. Obviously, I have to change the intake. I've been told 1 or 2 exhaust bolts may be in a different place. Is that true? I don't think the exhaust is any different on a Vortec head. I think we bolt on the same headers to a Vortec head. Fortunately, I don't have a choice. I got a Huron T6 hot side for free from a buddy. Okay. The reason they recommended such a big turbo is I'm planning on a 6 liter next year. Planning to stroke the 6 liter. So you're going to go to a 400-inch motor? Yeah, I still wouldn't use a T6 on a 6 liter. The only thing that I would put a T6 on, like I said, is if you're doing a very, very high RPM, you have a big stall converter or a 2-step, and you have a giant turbo, and you're trying to make like 1500 horsepower. That's where I would start thinking T6. Otherwise, I never would. I mean, a T6 wouldn't be part of any discussion for any like street motor buildup. Ta-da! Got an LSA blower, low compression 6 liter, 10 cc dish, high compression 6 liter, 12 cc dome. And what setup do you recommend? E85 big cam, G8 3600 stalled. If you have an LSA blower, just go with the lower compression because it will give you a bigger tuning window. Will the 4.8 with trick flow 255 heads and a Holly mid-ram intake and Truck Norris get me 500? Are you talking about a 255 LS3 head? Because you can't put that on a 4.8. And a mid-ram is not a good choice. And a Truck Norris cam, none of that will, so far none of that will work. Truck Norris cam will not get you anywhere near 500 horsepower. And a 255 trick flow head, I thought was a rec port head, so that won't fit. Got a question. I gotta have a stock C6 6-liter LS. Do you think a TSP 222 226 cam is good? Yeah, you just got to tell me what you're trying to get done with it. But yeah, that cam will be much better than any of the stock cams. So you're running a 5.3 243 heads ported Mad Max Texas Speed cam. What horsepower do you think it would make? I don't know anything about that camshaft. I don't think I've ever run that camshaft. Do you really need an intercooler on E85 Gen 5 L86 with 12 pounds of boost? I would always run an intercooler under boost. We have run turbos and stuff without boost. They do better. I mean, without intercoolers, they do better with intercoolers. The question is, can you get away with that? Yeah, you can get away with running pump gas at that, but you just have no timing in it. And it's not going to make any power. Would you rather do a Vortec over Kenny Bell for a 302? It depends on what you were trying to get done. I think now I would do, if I was doing a Vortec, I would do one with an intercooler. Kept all my rings 26 and 28. Oh, I messed up on cylinder 1 and went 28 to 30. Nope, you shouldn't be concerned at all. Just put it in there. Mine were all 35, 36, 32, 30, 28, whatever. It doesn't matter. Best build for it to get 500. Boost is really the best thing. A mild cam and boost is your best option. I'm going to be doing a 4.8 to get to 500. A stock bottom end one to get to 500, and you'll see what it takes. It takes really, really good cylinder heads and a really big camshaft and a fast or high ram or some kind of intake manifold. And then it's not gonna be something you're gonna like unless you're drag racing it. Does anyone ever run air-to-air intercooler and air-to-water on the intake? You can. Twinner cooled is a good idea. We did it at Bonneville, but you're just getting a little bit more out of it on the second one. I think a 94 Merc Cruiser, probably TBI heads, you would gain that much under 3,000 RPM with Vortec heads. I don't know what size the chambers are on those TBI heads. The Vortec head is definitely going to be better. If the Vortec head, which has a 64cc chamber, and the TBI head has a 72 or a 76cc chamber, you're going to gain a lot below 3,000 RPM. What do you think about the cam 222, 226 on us? Is that a Z06 with 706 heads or whatever? What is that? Once we get the turbo, what kit do you recommend for remaining items? Intercooler, piping headers. Is there a one-stop kit you recommend? I haven't tested kits other than ours, and ours will be out. I don't know. We're trying to get it done right away, but I don't know when it will all be ready. Oh, a 6-liter. Okay. 6-liter with 706 heads and a 222, 26 cam. Yeah, it will be fine. When you're going to do, you're going to drag race that car? If you're going to drag race the car, you should get a bigger motor. It will make more power everywhere. Get a 5.3. Just go to a wrecking yard or get a 6.0. Did you add your usual ring gap to the Turbo Gen 6 454 you tested? Which one? I've run more than a dozen of those. Right now, I got a 302 with GT40P heads, freshened up internals, Anderson N41 cam. Trying to figure out how much power to throw at it. Just thinking a supercharger. That's a good setup for, I don't know what intake manifold you have on there, but that's a good setup. You could put a Vortec on there or something. What are good pistons to raise compression? 4.8 pistons are a good way to raise compression, or any flat top. because your 5.3 is going to have dish, unless it's an L33, then it's going to have the 4.8 flat top pistons. But lots of people, Bullet, JE, Summit, everybody has flat top pistons for that. Vortex are 62 cc chamber, TBIs are 64. Okay. Got a 6 liter, but want to do the 4.8 first to test it. Okay. I'm behind, but sounds like possible the bearings. I think it's the front diff. Can you make good power with DOS cam on the 85? Or are you asking about the cam that you asked about? Yeah, I don't, you just got to tell me how much power you're trying to make, and I'll tell you if that cam will get there. If you're trying to make a lot of power, that's not a very big cam. If you're trying to make it a good driver, it's like that cam's like in the middle, kind of the middle of stuff. We got one more minute. We never even had a poll. We just like, we're busy. So by the way, make sure, go check out the Truck Plus cam, which adds 75 horsepower. Is we lowered it 30, and now we lowered it another 70 or so, because we found another spring application for it, so that you can get basically a lower cost spring combination to work with that sub 600 lift cam. You can also, we'll still continue with the BTR springs because we love them. So if you want more spring and you want to pay more for the BTR stuff, which are awesome, those work very well. But now we have a lower dollar option for that. So it makes the Truck Plus cam the same price as the low buck truck. And so if you want something that adds 75 horsepower, that's a pretty good deal. When are you doing the 4.8 build? I don't know. I don't have it scheduled yet. Can you still tow the Truck Plus cam and spring package on an 03 1500 HD 4x4 and is a daily driver able? Yeah, it's definitely a daily driver cam. That's not a problem at all. In fact, it's a daily driver and stock converter cam. Certainly on a 6 liter. I think on a 5.3, it would be suspect maybe on a 4.8. Mad Max cam spec 228 232. Port head, what do you think it would make? That's like a sloppy stage 2 cam. I don't know how good your ported heads are, and I don't know what intake it is. But I want to say that the sloppy stage 2 cam, which that would be like, let's see here. Where's our test data? Here we go. Okay, so sloppy stage 2 is like made 439 on our 5.3. Our 5.3 had a stock truck intake manifold on it. It had 799 heads on it because that's what it was, an L33. That's what it came with. So a little bit higher compression, I guess. That cam made 438 at the flywheel. So ported heads, you could get more. If you have a better intake, you could get more. Six-liter build to be really nasty on the drag strip. Money is an issue. Yeah, I would, if you're going to go to the drag strip, I would put nitrous or I put a turbo on it. Because there's no easier way to make a whole bunch of extra power than to do that. On that note, it is time to go, but the good news is I'll be back tomorrow. Make sure to go check out richrollperformance.com. Thanks to the guys at Vortec and Scat and AFR and Brian Tooley Racing for helping us out as always. And I will see you guys. Well, I might not see you tomorrow. Depends on when I get back. I'm heading down really early to go see Dulcich, and we're doing some Mopar stuff on the dyno. Should be awesome.